Chapter 6. The Dibble. Robyn Nudd is at the alarm point. Camden Bridge, Camden Town, London, NW 18AF. The delightful chirping of the late-rising Sunday songbirds floated easily on the light morning breeze. Like a tavern singer, I stuck a finger in my ear and waggled it about, and then I took a long, deep breath. The terrible metal clanging drowned out the sound of the delightful songbirds. The noise reverberated along the length and breadth of Camden High Street, and I waited, half deaf, for the noise to fade. The harsh sounds of shrill whistles immediately replaced it. Before you could declare, "Well, I'll go to the top of our stairs," the plod had surrounded me. The first two raised their spears and pushed me back against the wall of the bridge. The third held a small crossbow. It was slung low from his hip. "Name," he demanded. "Robyn Mary Nudd, female, classified, unfit for military service, located, north of the Gap, industrial zone, Salford, Bar G, no fixed abode." I made the statement simply by keeping to the usual routine and knowing that deviating in any fashion would only cause me pain. "Make your report." "There is a body in the canal," I stated simply. "An officer will be here soon. Don't you dare move." "Great, 3 plod and a dibble." I remained silent and smiled my secret smile. The constables were behind me as I turned. They blocked the path with their heavy bodies and large spears, which were poised, ready to strike. Their very existence radiated a vibrant intimidation. They waited, eagerly hoping, wishing that I would make a break for it. Their eyes locked on me. I felt the malice sweeping across my body. Their eyes filled with lust and desire, and that desire was tinged with an edgy, anxious violence. I started to sweat. "Place your hands on your head and kneel," the largest of the plod said, still holding his crossbow and positioning it close, aimed at my belly. A slow wound, I thought. This one has been trained. Hurt them, but don't kill them too quickly. We need to gather information from them first. I sank to my knees and placed my hands on my head. I watched the second plod, the shorter of the 3, as he moved to my rear and quickly frisked me. "Clean," he stated disappointedly. "Okay, I will take over," the officer said as he arrived on the bridge. "You wish to make a report?" he asked. "Tell me simply, what do you wish to report?" "I found a body in the canal." It was a short, sharp reply. "Show me," he responded. I stood slowly, raised my hands away from my body, and looked him straight in the eye. I led the way back across the bridge and along the towpath. Officer Dibble walked next to me, the plodding constables falling in behind, their weapons held ready for action. And so very, very soon we were approaching the moored barges. "Explain the situation," ordered the officer. The Sheriff of Nottingham was softly sleeping. I was curled up, cosy like snuggling, her big round bottom keeping me warm. I explained with a quirky smile. When I awoke, I could see the body through the porthole. It was floating next to the barge. "You spent the night in sin, and you admit it?" the shocked officer asked. "There was no sin, I just slept," I said simply. "Where is this sheriff?" the officer demanded. "You were standing right next to her," and I quickly leapt aboard the barge. "Isn't she beautiful?" I took a long, deep bow. The officer looked along the length of the barge and walked slowly up the gangplank. Then he stepped aboard the Sheriff of Nottingham. "It is dangerous to toy so with the ministry. You are already a person of interest to us. I will add to your file your tendency towards unnatural, immoral, and illegal relationships, and you find it amusing to play your games with our authority. You may just live to regret that jest." He said this as he raised his hand and struck me on the head to emphasize his displeasure. It was a hard blow. It knocked me to the deck. The ring on his hand had bitten deeply into my skin. He saw the pain as it seeped into my eyes, and a deep smile spread across his thin face. "And so have many a witch regretted their action, as the fires licked their skin and they burned." He slurred the last word lovingly, stretching it out like a baker kneading his morning dough. "Search." He gave the constables a simple, sharp order. One of them rushed on board and down into the sheriff. He took a kick at me, accidentally on purpose, as he passed. Once inside, he started to open drawers and cabinets, and as he went, he overturned as much of the furniture as possible. "Show me the body," said the officer more softly. I tugged my forelock and kept my head low, spitting the blood from my mouth and wiping it with the back of my bare arm. That should take their mind off my stash, I thought. Here. I pointed to the water as I rubbed the side of my head. The body was still bobbing up and down in the canal. It was only a short length away from the sheriff, and it slowly drifted nearer to the gap between the two barges. I smiled again. Now, that looks less suspicious. The officer shouted an order to the remaining constables, and they took the poles as instructed. Bring the body to the side and get it out of there. I need to look at it properly. You, inside. Once inside the cabin, I stood and watched the plod as he turned out my belongings. Explain why you are here, said the Dibble. I'm here to collect a cargo from the book warehouse, Johansson's, upstream. It is just through the dock, at the next wharf. There is the parchment. I pointed to a pile of parchments that had once been on the fold-down scribing desk and were now strewn across the floor, along with my chess pieces. The Black Knight rocked clumsily on the floor. When did you arrive here? He asked. Yesterday, about the third bell of the dog watch, dusk. Stay here, he said, as one of his men shouted to him from outside. Search for contraband, he barked at the remaining constable. The plod looked at me and smirked. The Dibble climbed out of the cabin and onto the deck. He mounted the plank and moved swiftly to the bank. Ignoring his instructions, I followed him. The plod accompanied me. He was obviously curious too. The body, a man, was soggy, wet, and bloated. It lay like a beached white whale on the mud-packed towpath. Small holes, the marks of rodents' teeth, showed clearly on its extremities, and the torso showed a washerwoman's swelling and wrinkling. The Dibble bent over the body, and we crowded around morbidly, curious to see the spectacle. The man was small, about my height, and he wore dark cotton leggings and a strange silk waistcoat. His long black hair had been plaited into a pigtail. The pigtail had been cut off, just short of the base of his skull. I let out a gasp as the Dibble turned him over. The man's face had a pale, waxy colouring like a burnt-out candle. The eyes were dark and had an epicanthic fold. Well, one of them was. The other was missing altogether. Only a length of the sinew remained. The holes in his cheeks, where the rodents had feasted, were a marbled and macerated pulp. A deep scar ran down from his ear to his jaw. The last 3 fingers of the right hand were also missing. I noticed a red dragon sleeve tattooed on his lower right arm. The dragon was climbing upwards, its tail looped around the wrist. The Dibble studied the body silently, from top to bottom and back again, before finally focusing on the head. He bent low over the face. He opened the dead man's mouth and pushed his fingers deep into it. Slowly, his fingers twisted, and he extracted a piece of duckweed. He pulled on it, and pulled, and pulled. Then, with a silent twang, it jerked loose and sprang upwards, freed from its throaty prison. I swear, that is as long as my forearm. I gasped. Nobody seemed to notice. He was alive when he went in. The Dibble said, looking up at me. He gave a slight nod to the taller plod. I caught a glimpse of the spear shaft as it descended towards my skull. I had time to utter just one sentence. Fancy finding weed in Camden Town. Please press the like icon. It really helps with the algorithm. Click subscribe to be notified of further installments. You can find more information and other videos at mortalcritters.com. The Mortal Critters ebook is available at Amazon, and the paperbacks are available at all good bookstores.